Hey there. I like comic books. I like comic books a lot. Originally, for this shot, I wanted to have all of my books in frame, but as I've gotten used to hearing, it wouldn't fit. So, so when I found out that one of my favorite YouTubers was coming out with a comic book, I was obviously excited and thrilled. I'm always really excited to see creators I know, for one thing, exploring an entirely different outlet. Although, admittedly, it does feel like finding out your Applebee's waitress also has an OnlyFans, but slightly more embarrassing. So I immediately put in my pre order, and this week it finally came in the mail. Here we have issue number 1 of This Sweet Cesspool, a comic from the mind of
Name redacted.
the creator behind popular YouTube channel Ordinary Things. Now that I have my hands on it, I'm going to be giving it a read and giving you a full review of my thoughts. First things first, taking it out of the envelope, I really like the design and overall packaging of the comic. For those familiar with comics, the page count is more akin to what you'd see in a series special rather than a standard issue, and that, coupled with the fact that it's coming directly from a creator rather than from a big company, to me makes the $19 price tag more than worth it. Starting with the cover, I really like this logo. Logos and branding are one of those things that people only tend to comment on when they're done poorly, unless they're nerds like me. I really like this logo. It's saccharine in a way that reminds me of the Willy Wonka logo, and when you take into account how many kids probably died in that factory, that seems appropriate. Lucas Gattani is credited with the lettering in this issue, and while I didn't find anything specifically saying that he also did the logo, it does appear congruent to other logo designs in his portfolio. The cover illustration was done by P.J. Holden, who I believe is most well known for his work on Judge Dredd. Unfortunately, I'm not particularly familiar with him because, as you may have noticed, I am DC Comics trash, but suffice to say, he is an established industry professional who created a stunning cover for this work. From the time of announcement, I felt that this image creates a very strong presence, and I really appreciate that it complements the style of art inside, which was done by Stefan Tosheff. By the way, apologies if I'm mispronouncing anyone's names. A personal pet peeve of mine has always been when a different artist is brought in to do the cover work and it ends up visually conflicting with the art inside. Initially, I didn't even know that this was done by two different artists until I checked the credits, which just goes to show that these flow together really nicely. I have to say, while I really like the look of this matte packaging, I, like many avid comic book fans, have uh, greasy fingers, and so I just keep wiping at it because I'm neurotic. Opening it up, I'm surprised to see Ordinary Things' real name. I'm not going to say what it is here because if I recall correctly, he did say something in a previous video about sort of unintentionally keeping it a secret. Um, and I actually paid money for this. So you can go ahead and buy it yourself if you want to know what his real name is for some reason. Also, what immediately stands out to me is that he is the only writing credit, and I don't see an editor credit. Now, I have to admit my own personal bias here because I actually work freelance as a comic book editor. I mostly do editing for the initial write up and the scripts, And consequently, I, of course, am inclined to sell my own job. You don't necessarily need to hire an editor. Plenty of writers are skilled at refining their own works, but I do believe that it is a separate skill from writing itself. As such, it is just something I'm inclined to take note of. And if you'd like to see an example of what it can be like when someone edits their own writing, just watch any of my videos. But without further ado, here we go. Knocked it out in about an hour and a half. The short version? I like it. I'm going to be picking up the following issues whenever they're available, and I'm excited to see where the story goes. Getting into more specifics, I think it starts out with a really strong cast of characters. I was not expecting to like Preston as much as I do. The hologram looks like he should be shilling for sugar cereal, but it's effective. Also, I don't think this is a spoiler because he's shown on page 12, but skip ahead if you're really concerned. The guy operating the Preston hologram is some skinny nerd in a full VR setup, and I don't think it means anything, but I just felt like pointing that out. You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become a furry. Besides him, I'm particularly interested in Sasha. He just seems like the exact type of gargoyle I enjoy cheering on. I think this first issue is a really strong start, and it's particularly skilled in sowing intrigue without giving too much away. I also want to note that there's a portion right in the middle that honestly turned my stomach a bit, and that's pretty uncommon for me, so that's impressive. Absolute credit there for the writing and art. I really appreciate that throughout the illustrations, instances of gore have a level of restraint that keeps the violence from becoming desensitizing. The instance I found particularly unsettling doesn't even really feature blood. Regarding the visuals, my one light criticism is that I feel that the panel layouts were pretty stock standard throughout. This isn't necessarily a problem, but I did feel that there were some moments of action that felt confusing due to the more static layouts, and this could just be a stylistic choice, but for a review, I felt it was worth mentioning. I mean, fucking Christ's sakes, the comic that gets every nerd's panties sodden has the most rigid panel layouts you can possibly find. It's by no means a deal breaker, it's just not my preference. When reading a comic, I'm always looking to see that the medium has been properly utilized, and I feel that it certainly has been here. When working with an illustrator, a writer will often present a script that describes not only the characters present and their dialogue, but also details about everything in the panel, from background elements to poses and anything that can give more information to the reader. I definitely saw plenty of world building and characterization being done through the visuals, which is very impressive for someone's first public work. Eventually, when all the issues are out, if an omnibus is released, I'd be really interested to see a sample of the scripts as like a bonus on the end, but that might just be me. I'd also really love to see things like early character designs and notes. Each of the characters has a really distinct design, and shape language is so well utilized. That's pretty much all of my initial thoughts. I definitely recommend it. I think the writing is very strong, which is especially impressive for an introductory work without the help of a professional editor. As the following issues are released, I may do individual reviews on those or just wait until the full story is available and do a more in depth review. We'll just have to wait and see, but feel free to sound off in the comments if you have a preference. For now, I'll leave a link to where you can pick this up in the pinned comment. I'd like to thank you so much for watching. I'm going to be filming a new video this weekend on an old niche Japanese RPG, so make sure to subscribe if you'd like to catch that. Until next time, I'm Cameron Action, and thank you for watching. Are you still there? While I've got ya, if you're a fan of comic books and you have kid-friendly issues lying around, consider checking out Critical Care Comics. They're a charity operating from my own sweet cesspool, Las Vegas. Critical Care Comics has its superhero volunteers visit local hospitals and shelters to deliver comic books to children. The majority of the comics they deliver are donated. I can't personally volunteer because I'm afraid of children, but I've donated to them several times now, and it's a wonderful charity run by very kind people. I'll leave a link to their website in the pinned comment if you're interested in donating. I also know from going to some of their fundraising events that other charities like theirs exist in different areas. If you'd like something more local, a Google search will take no time at all. As an avid comic reader, people over the years have given me tons of books that I had no interest in reading, and this way they can go to someone who will enjoy them. Just don't send them this one. Cartoon dogs aside, it's way too violent. Okay, that really is all I had for you. Thanks. Bye.